Sometimes, I can't help but wonder how different things might have been if I'd never trusted them. My parents' voices still echo in my mind, full of warmth and hope, proudly sharing with anyone who would listen about the bright future they envisioned for me. I can clearly picture my 18th birthday, surrounded by balloons and laughter, as my father lifted me onto his shoulders and announced to the world, "Amina's going to have an amazing life. Her college fund is all set, and she'll never have to worry about a thing." Those words were my security, wrapping around me like a blanket, soothing my childhood dreams, and assuring me that I could chase any path my heart desired. But today, standing in the cold, sterile silence of the bank, reality tore away the comforting layers I had clung to. "I'm sorry, Miss Karimi," the bank manager said softly, his eyes full of uncomfortable sympathy. "There's nothing left. The account was emptied almost 2 years ago." A cold wave of dread washed over me, and my heart thudded painfully in my chest. "Emptied? That's impossible," I whispered, my hand gripping the desk to steady myself. He slid a piece of paper across to me. "Withdrawn by your parents," he confirmed gently. Betrayal gripped me, squeezing my heart until tears blurred my vision. How could they do this to me? The floor felt unsteady beneath my feet as I stumbled out of the bank, my mind spinning with disbelief and denial. Every memory I once cherished now twisted into something painful, no longer reassuring but cruel. Driven by confusion and fury, I stormed into my parents' house. My mother sat at the kitchen table, sipping her coffee as though she hadn't just shattered my world. My father, standing by the window, stared out absently. "How could you?" My voice trembled with hurt and accusation. "You took everything from me. My savings? Why?" They exchanged a glance, but not a single hint of remorse was visible. My mother's voice was calm, even dismissive. "We needed it more, Lucia." "Needed it more?" I echoed, barely recognizing my own voice. "Lucia just bought a house. I was counting on that money." "Yes," my father interjected coldly, his gaze finally meeting mine. "Lucia bought her house because we helped her. She's been through struggles you wouldn't understand. You've always been the spoiled one. It's time you learned to stand on your own." His words struck me like a physical blow, stealing my breath. "Spoiled? All my life I've followed your rules, worked hard to make you proud, and yet, it was never enough." The unfairness burned in my chest, leaving me shaking from hurt and confusion. "But you said it was for my future," I whispered, my voice barely above a whisper. My mother sighed, setting her cup down with a hint of irritation flashing in her eyes. "Lucia deserved it more. Honestly, Amina, it's always been so easy for you. Can't you handle one setback without throwing a tantrum?" I froze, her words reopening old wounds I'd buried beneath smiles and assurances. A wave of nausea rose in my throat as my childhood trust shattered completely, replaced by a cold, unforgiving chill. The parents I thought I knew, the ones I believed would protect me, had made it clear how disposable I truly was. "You lied to me," I said, my voice gaining strength as a raw determination took hold. "All these years, you let me believe I mattered to you just as much." My father turned away dismissively, returning his gaze to the garden outside. "Grow up, Amina. This is real life. Not everything revolves around you." Their casual cruelty cut deep, embedding itself in my heart. But amidst the pain, something else began to stir, a fire of defiance, sparked by the harsh truth they'd forced upon me. I wouldn't be their doormat anymore. As I turned to leave, tears blurred my vision once again, but this time, they were different. Anger, betrayal, and the first hints of a plan began to form in the quiet chaos of my mind. They thought they had silenced me, that they had kept me in line, but they had no idea how wrong they were. Stepping outside, I sucked in a shaky breath, determined and unbroken. I knew exactly what I had to do. My parents had rewritten my past without my permission, but I would take control of the future. They'd soon learn the consequences of betraying someone they never thought would fight back. That night, sleep wouldn't come. Memories flooded my mind, revealing patterns of favoritism I had long ignored. I remembered countless birthdays where Lucia received lavish gifts, while mine were brushed aside with casual apologies. My academic achievements went unnoticed, overshadowed by praise for Lucia's minor successes. Every family conversation subtly revolved around Lucia's needs, and her mistakes were easily excused, while mine were magnified as signs of selfishness. Desperate for support, I decided to confront Lucia, hoping she might acknowledge my pain. I found her lounging on her patio, sipping wine, surrounded by friends whose laughter stopped when I approached. "Lucia, we need to talk," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. She raised an eyebrow and smirked dismissively. "About what now?" "Our parents used my savings for your house," I said plainly, waiting for any sign of remorse. Lucia laughed loudly, amusement clear in her eyes. "You're spoiled and selfish, Ami. Stop whining. Honestly, it wasn't even your money. It was just sitting there, wasted on you." Her friends exchanged uncomfortable glances, but Lucia didn't care. My cheeks burned with humiliation, blending with anger. As I turned to leave, I overheard Lucia's voice behind me, full of glee. "Can you believe she thinks she deserves that money? Like she's ever had to struggle for anything?" Each cruel word pierced my fragile heart, igniting a fire within me. Lucia thought she had won, but the battle had only just begun. In the days that followed, a hollow ache settled deep inside me. My parents had always assumed. I thought I was strong enough to handle anything on my own. My parents had always disguised their neglect as confidence in my independence. But now, faced with their undeniable favoritism, I felt invisible. At a family gathering, I quietly moved between conversations, always lingering on the edges, never fully part of anything. My mother's laughter rang out sharply as she described Lucia's new house to distant relatives, and my father's proud voice boomed as he bragged about Lucia's so-called accomplishments, conveniently overlooking her many mistakes. Feeling suffocated, I stepped out onto the porch for some fresh air, only to find Uncle Tiago leaning against the railing, watching me with kind eyes. Tiago had always been the gentle one, observant, thoughtful, and the only family member who truly seemed to notice me. "Hey, Ami," he said softly, concern evident in his voice. "You doing okay?" My throat tightened as emotions rushed to the surface. Unable to hold back, I spilled everything: the betrayal, Lucia's mockery, and my parents' cold indifference. Tiago listened in silence, his eyes darkening with understanding and sympathy. "I'm so sorry, Amina," he said finally, his voice thick with sincerity. "I've watched them treat you unfairly for years, and I should have spoken up sooner." I shook my head, wiping the tears from my cheeks. "It's not your fault, Uncle Tiago." He sighed heavily, staring off into the distance. "Family loyalty should never come at the expense of your own self-worth, Ami. Remember that." His words struck deep, planting a powerful realization inside me. All my life, I had desperately sought my parents' approval, believing that loyalty to family was unconditional. But in that moment, everything became clear. I owed nothing to those who had treated me like an afterthought. With newfound strength, I met Tiago's eyes, my voice hardening with determination. "You're right. They've made their choice, and now I'll make mine." Tiago smiled gently, pride clear in his gaze. "Whatever you decide to do, Amina, just know that you're not alone." His unwavering support became the lifeline I had so desperately needed, sparking the courage I'd lacked before. It was time for my family to face the consequences of their actions. For days, I gathered evidence meticulously, determined not to leave any loose ends. Each step forward was empowering, but also devastating. The cruel necessity of exposing the very people who had raised me caused a constant ache in my chest. But the more I uncovered, the deeper I realized their betrayal ran. In a quiet downtown office, I sat across from a lawyer, my fingers nervously twisting in my lap. "Your parents didn't just withdraw the funds," she explained gently, her eyes kind but serious. "They committed bank fraud, Amina. Your signature was forged, and investment documents were falsified. This is a serious crime." The words hit me like a blow, and my heart pounded painfully in my chest. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was criminal. "What happens next?" I asked, swallowing hard to steady my voice. The lawyer slid a file toward me. "We build a case, but once you move forward, Amina, there's no turning back." I nodded slowly, resolute. They had left me no choice. Leaving the lawyer's office, the weight of my decision pressed heavily on my shoulders. I needed reassurance, someone to lean on. Uncle Tiago had always been my anchor, so instinctively I went to him. We met at a quiet cafe, where his calm presence soothed my restless heart. "Uncle Tiago," I began softly, sipping the warm tea that barely calmed my nerves. "Did you know about this? About them taking my money?" He sighed deeply, regret clouding his eyes. I didn't know how far they'd gone. I confronted them once about their favoritism toward Lucia, but instead of listening, they shut me out. I've regretted not pushing harder ever since. His words stung, but also confirmed what I had known all along. I wasn't overreacting. My pain was real. Tiago placed a comforting hand over mine. "You're brave, Ami. You don't owe them your silence." His support gave me the strength I needed, reinforcing my resolve. Quietly, I began planning a family dinner under the guise of reconciliation. My parents eagerly accepted, likely assuming I had come crawling back, ready to apologize. Lucia agreed smugly, certain she had already won. The night of the dinner arrived, and tension coiled tightly inside me. The house felt foreign now, each wall echoing memories tainted by betrayal. Lucia lounged confidently, sipping her wine as she went on about her grand plans for her new house. My parents watched her with pride, their smiles wide and untroubled. My hands trembled slightly as I prepared to speak, silently rehearsing the devastating truth I was about to reveal. Just as I summoned the courage to interrupt, I overheard my mother's voice drifting from the next room, speaking proudly to a guest. "Yes, we generously helped Lucia with Ami's funds. Lucia deserved it far more, considering how much she's been through. Amina will manage. She always does." Her words cut through me, reigniting the fresh wound of betrayal. I took a steadying breath and stepped deliberately into the dining room. All eyes shifted toward me as I stood in front of them. "Actually," I began calmly, my voice strong despite my racing heart, "there's something you all should know." "Amina, this isn't the time," my father interjected sternly, irritation flashing in his eyes. Ignoring him, I continued unwaveringly. "I've filed fraud charges against you both." A stunned silence fell over the room, thick and heavy. My parents' faces drained of color, disbelief quickly replaced by outrage and panic. Lucia's confident demeanor shattered, her eyes widening in sudden fear. "How could you do something so cruel, Amina?" My mother gasped, genuine shock and anger in her voice. "Cruel?" I echoed coldly, meeting her gaze directly. "You took my future and gave it away. You forged my signature, lied, and used me. You took everything from me without a second thought." Lucia's composure completely unraveled, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and fear. "You're destroying our family." "No," I replied, my voice calm and unwavering. "You did that on your own. You taught me how to prioritize family, but you just weren't part of mine." The room erupted into chaos, accusations flying in every direction. But for the first time, I felt completely calm, anchored by the truth. Their words no longer held any power over me. They had expected me to quietly accept their betrayal, but I had chosen a different path. As the shouting continued, I stepped outside, taking a deep breath, feeling the weight of guilt and doubt lift from me. The truth was finally out, and there was no turning back. The days after my revelation at the family dinner felt like a blur. Reality crashed in quickly as legal actions unfolded with ruthless precision. My parents, once untouchable and proud, now faced the harsh light of public accountability. The headlines exposed their betrayal, each word a fresh wound digging deeper into our family's reputation. Lucia, who had initially been defiant, was quickly consumed by panic and anger as her precious home, the one built with the stolen money from my future, was now at risk. Her frantic messages to me shifted from pleas for forgiveness to accusing me of ruining her life. "Amina, do you realize what you've done?" Lucia screamed over the phone one night, her voice breaking with panic. "Everything's falling apart because of you!" "I'm not the one who tore this family apart," I responded, my voice steady despite the gnawing guilt. "You chose to take what wasn't yours. You all made your choices, and now you have to live with the consequences." Her angry cries dissolved into sobs of self-pity and fear, but I stood firm. I had let guilt and misplaced loyalty trap me for far too long. Now I was free, and I wasn't going back. Even so, during quieter moments, doubt still crept in. I'd lie awake at night, wondering if I had been too harsh. Was I cruel for holding them accountable? Was I the one responsible for the destruction of our family? The emotional turmoil felt endless, my heart torn between the righteous anger I felt and the deep longing for family acceptance that still lingered. During those dark moments, it was Tiago who helped me stay grounded. His steady presence gave me the clarity I desperately needed. One evening, sitting on his porch, Tiago listened as I poured out my conflicted feelings. "They're my parents," I whispered, tears spilling down my cheeks. "A part of me still loves them, even after everything they've done. Is that wrong?" Tiago's gaze softened with understanding. "Love isn't wrong, Ami. That's natural. But loyalty isn't something you should offer where it's not being returned. They chose Lucia over you time and time again, and they left you with no other option. You deserve so much more than that." His words resonated deeply, calming the storm of doubt inside me. The reassurance he gave me was like balm on my wounds, reminding me that my worth wasn't defined by their approval. Slowly, my guilt began to ease, replaced by a quiet certainty that I had made the right choice, no matter how painful it had been. Meanwhile, the consequences of my parents' betrayal unfolded without mercy. Their finances fell apart under the weight of legal scrutiny, forcing them to sell their home and assets. The relentless public humiliation continued as friends and neighbors uncovered the truth they had fought so hard to keep hidden. Lucia, knocked from her pedestal, was forced to sell her house, her illusion of superiority shattered by the harsh reality she had long avoided. Despite everything, I kept my distance, refusing to let myself be drawn into their manipulations again. Lucia's messages grew increasingly desperate and emotional, her words veering from righteous anger to tearful apologies. Each message tested my resolve, but Tiago's voice in my head reminded me to stay strong. "Remember, Ami," Tiago gently reminded me, "they've brought this upon themselves. You deserve peace, free from their emotional manipulation." Slowly, but surely, I began reclaiming my life. Financially independent and emotionally stronger than I'd ever been, every step I took forward felt lighter. With each new realization, the weight lifted, and a new sense of clarity began to bloom within me. The family I had once longed for wasn't bound by blood, but by love, respect, and trust. One evening, Lucia called again, her voice desperate. "Amina, please, I'm your sister. Help me." For a moment, the old habits of compassion stirred inside me, urging me to reach out. But quickly, the memories of betrayal, arrogance, and disregard washed over me. "Lucia, I can't," I said, my voice firm and unwavering. "Not anymore." Her silence on the other end of the line spoke volumes. I ended the call, finally free from the chains of guilt. The family dynamics had shifted entirely. Now, they were the ones facing the consequences. It was poetic justice, an undeniable reminder that actions always have consequences, even if they take time to catch up. Standing on Tiago's porch, breathing in the fresh night air, I embraced the clarity that had come from pain. The hardest battles often bring the deepest growth, and now I could move forward without looking back. In the months that followed, I flourished both professionally and personally in ways I had only dreamed of before. Freed from the suffocating weight of my family's betrayal, my life finally felt like my own. Each day brought newfound confidence and new opportunities, free from the manipulation and expectations that had once held me back. Tiago continued to be my rock, cheering me on through every success and gently guiding me through every obstacle. I bought my first home, a cozy bungalow on the outskirts of town, a tangible symbol of my independence and strength. Standing proudly on the front porch, keys tightly clenched in my hand, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. It was so much more than just a house. It represented every battle I had fought, every painful lesson I had learned, and every ounce of strength I had found within myself. Professionally, I advanced quickly, earning the recognition I had long deserved. Colleagues respected my insights, valued my contributions, and acknowledged my potential in ways my family never had. Each accomplishment reinforced the truth I had fought so hard to understand. My worth wasn't determined by others' opinions, but by my integrity and perseverance. Still, moments of reflection occasionally caught me off guard. One afternoon, driving home from work, as I drove past a local diner, I noticed a help wanted sign in the window. For a fleeting moment, Lucia crossed my mind, and I almost considered snapping a picture and sending it to her, wondering if she had finally hit rock bottom. But the thought passed quickly, replaced by a deep, peaceful acceptance. I chose not to reach out, not out of malice or resentment, but because I understood that our lives had taken different directions. I was no longer responsible for her choices or the consequences of them. Letting go, I drove past the diner with a small smile, one that felt more meaningful than it seemed. It was a quiet victory, but it mattered. Despite everything, Lucia still sent me desperate messages, full of emotion, asking for money or forgiveness. Each message tugged at the remnants of old feelings buried deep inside me, but I held firm. I had learned that forgiveness wasn't about abandoning my boundaries, and showing compassion didn't mean opening myself up to further harm. Each time I gently but firmly said no, I reclaimed a little more of the self I had lost to misplaced loyalty. As the months went by, the void left by my family's absence was gradually filled with real connections and authentic friendships. My colleagues became close friends, my neighbors turned into companions, and Tiago's steady, calming presence became the foundation of my new support network. These relationships showed me what real family could be, one built on mutual respect, trust, and kindness. One bright weekend morning, Tiago and I sat together on my porch, sipping coffee in comfortable silence. After a while, he turned to me, his eyes full of warmth and pride. "Ami," he said, his voice rich with admiration. "You've come so far. Watching you take control of your life has been incredible. I hope you realize just how strong you really are." Tears filled my eyes, but this time they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you, Tiago. You were always there when I needed someone the most." He smiled, his hand gently patting mine. "I may have been here, but you're the one who made it happen. You chose strength over bitterness, self-respect over guilt. You built a life worth celebrating." His words struck deep, reaffirming everything I had learned and embraced in this journey. I finally understood the powerful truth that family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who choose to love and support you, even at your lowest. In that clarity, I found peace. The toxic connections that had once bound me were severed for good, replaced by a network of love, respect, and trust. With a heart free from guilt, I now knew what real freedom felt like. I stood up, stretching in the warm sunlight, and took a deep breath, savoring the quiet contentment of this fresh start. The past had shaped me, but it no longer had a hold on me. I was ready to face the future with confidence, knowing I had earned every moment of happiness and peace that lay ahead.